I know you ride the daily wave of an MLB season the last couple days in terms of outcome have not been good. But let's go back before that for a moment. You had a great trade deadline. And it was exciting for a fan base and for media jamokes like us. But did you see your team and the organization energized by the deadline?
I mean, it's hard to say. I think for us, it made a lot of sense given how the first half went. I mean, our position player group has been so good this year. They've offense, defense has been excellent. Our pitching has just been super banged up all year, and I can't remember a year we had such clear needs. Sometimes it's, you want to improve the team, but it's not really obvious what you do or how you do it. And it was pretty clear this year, given the starting pitching injuries, that how we needed to proceed. And so I think that was a big part of it. And yeah, the players obviously have responded well. You never know why a team plays well, but obviously we played well since the deadline, and we got a long way to go. But it's like I said, it's two good teams playing tonight. That makes it a lot of fun.
Teams don't want flowers in the middle of a season, but do you think there's enough credit given, whether it's to Craig, the team, the organization, the front office, whatever? I've never seen a season where you win 10, you lose 10. The pitching injuries.
They won 10 again. And
there's like
twice.
an entire book in one season, and the season's not even over yet. But the way you guys were able to withstand the pitching injuries and the 10-game losing streak, have you ever seen anything like it?
No, it's been a different season. But like I said, I give so much credit to the position player group. I think that the way we played defense all year has been sort of the steady backbone of our team. I think it allowed us to weather some real pitching injuries. And, I haven't been part of a season like this where we lost so many guys and really in close proximity. Yeah. So I know I've never been a part of a season like this. And it's so different. Last year, pretty similar group in general, and we were the most consistent, boring team. I think we won 5 in a row one time, and that was like the first week of the season. I don't think we got swept until late August. I don't think we had like a real losing streak until after we clinched. Last year was the exact opposite. It felt like every 10 games we were, 5-5 or 6-4 the whole season. And then this year has been the exact opposite. We've had these massive ups and massive downs, and obviously we've had more ups and downs. But it's been a streakier season for sure. And like I said, generally the group is pretty similar.
3 roster moves today, 6 players. I mean, my God, that's a lot of activity. It's got to go on. You talked about the defense. Dansby now with the oblique. Are you hoping it's 4 weeks? Do you think it might be 6 weeks? What's the thought process?
Yeah, you never know. I think it's a real danger when we talk about grades of injuries, because we've seen grade 1s last longer than grade 2s. It really is very player specific, and it's also pretty spot specific. Like sometimes you'll have a hamstring injury that doesn't present like a big deal, and it'll linger forever, and you'll have one that looks bad that the guy 10 days later he feels really good. So the hope is that he sort of is on the short end of those projections and gets back. And I mean, he was saying earlier he's never had a soft tissue injury, so this is uncharted territory for Dansby. But yeah, obviously he's a massive part of our team, and I can't imagine a better defender, a more steady presence, and we'll miss him while he's out. But no one cares, right? It's you gotta move on, and we have a deep team, and Pedro will get a lot more playing time, and we'll hopefully at some point we can get Haugh back as well, and we can use some of that depth.
So we had a pretty fun moment of live radio when we got that news today. We're like, all right, when has Triantos played short? All right, not since 21. When has Baez played short? Not since 23. Bregman played a game in the bigs in 2019 at short. Like, we're looking all that stuff up.
We really did.
Yeah, but
yeah.
You probably knew all of that.
Yeah.
Was Owen Miller the obvious choice?
Yeah, I mean, with Nico, obviously, Nico is very competent there. He played there for a full season. I think for most teams he would have been playing shortstop.
But you need 2, right?
No, we absolutely. And I think that, Owen can play there. But, hopefully Nico can play there most days, and we'll have to, fill in when he's not. But like I said, everyone has injuries every day. You just have to, it's unfortunate. You guys got to move on quickly.
Frustrating year for Edward Cabrera, obviously back to the IL today. After looking really good in the rehab, 5 hitless innings in a rehab start. He goes back with another blister, but what you guys did at the deadline and even before with Peterson, do those acquisitions help cushion that blow?
No question. And I think there was a moment we talked about with the trades where it's like, okay, like if everyone's healthy, we're kind of oversubscribed. And it's like, yeah, but that never happens, and so you don't have to worry about those things. And it has been a frustrating season for him. The blisters have kind of come up a bunch of times, even times where he didn't go on the IL for it. It was something we were dealing with. I think long term is something we have to figure out. He's a really good pitcher. He's had really good seasons. We've got to figure out how to keep his hands right. And I think that you saw yesterday in the fourth inning, he just lost command, and you can see him picking at his finger, and we have to avoid that. It's happened a number of times this year, and that's something we have to figure out over the winter. How can we possibly strengthen the skin? How can we make sure he doesn't have these issues every third start?
Knowing where you are in the schedule and having the depth now in the rotation, could we see him in shorter roles?
Yeah, I think that's very likely that we do, and I think as the season gets shorter, we start putting guys in different roles like that. So I think it makes sense.
It's not something he's done, right? You worry about the routine, the mindset of being able to do it.
Absolutely. I don't think you don't just spring it on him. I think it's something you have to work through, but I do think we have a number of guys, working back from injuries that could end up, pitching in some different roles, and that's the nature of the end of the season. That's what happens, and hopefully some of those guys can kind of have out-getters, as Craig would say. It might not be conventional starting pitchers, but they can get a lot of important outs.
As well as you guys played against Milwaukee, there was a difference in terms of what you needed and didn't quite have in that series, and I keep watching your year and comparing it to that. And as you're talking about the possibility of, 3 more guys who could go bulk in a series, maybe you have Cabrera, maybe you have Steele, maybe you have Brown in the bullpen, all of a sudden you could still be armed so much better than you were last year. Like if we're still comparing against that series, you might still be in a really good spot.
Yeah, not to jump ahead of ourselves, but when you think about that series you're talking about, you think about just the way that the game is played now in general, you need bulk starting pitchers to get through 162. You can't kill your bullpen. You can't push your bullpen that hard for the whole season. But as the games get shorter and more important, you can. And I think that's a difference in how the game is played now that, when I think back 20 years, you were going into postseason games hoping that Pedro and Schilling and those guys were going to give you 7 innings. And no one's thinking about that now in these games. You're thinking about, okay, let's get us a couple times through the lineup, and let's play matchups the rest of the way. Let's use guys in bulk. No one was doing that 20 years ago, or even really 10 years ago. Now, as the games get shorter, we utilize our pitching in different ways.
And when you have guys like Ben Brown can be comfortable doing that. Yeah. Clay Holmes can be comfortable doing that if need be. That matters, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I think Ben is one where there's been a lot of talk of the Cade Horton or talk about Steele, but the fact is Ben kind of emerged. He was our best pitcher when he went down, and I don't want us to lose sight of the real gains he made. That sinker that Clay Holmes taught him, that sinker was unbelievable, and he was super effective. And I think losing him was super hurtful, but hopefully we can get him back in some role to help us out this year.
What's your perception of the league? I know there's always hey, just get in the dance and then you have a shot to win. We've seen 82 win teams win it, but this league, the Baltimore Orioles today are a playoff team. 10 days ago they were up the track and selling. It's a weird league, whether it's the National League, the American League. Even the Dodgers are struggling. Everyone's got their warts, and it feels like the type of year where getting in really, truly matters.
Yeah, I think that's the way baseball is now. For the most part, I do think that there's very few teams that are on kind of the edges. I think that there's very few teams. Part of the deadline challenge this year was there's very few clear sellers, right? There's very few teams that were way out of the race that were obviously going to sell. And there was, very few teams that are kind of running away. And there's so many teams in the middle. We were joking that, I think there was 4 or 5 teams at 500 at the deadline, and they were making different decisions. Some were selling, some were buying, and
some were doing both.
Yeah, some were doing both. And I think in the American League, you see some teams that sold that may well end up, making the playoffs. The Orioles sold, the Blue Jays sold. I think that when you have a league where right now, under 500s in the postseason, you can do that. Certainly, the National League is very different, and I do think these things are very cyclical. There's been times when the American League was much better than the National League, but I think right now it's pretty clear the balance of power is clearly in the National League, and the American League is sort of a free-for-all. Those last couple of playoff spots are kind of wide open.
Jed Hoyer, the president of baseball operations of the Cubs, is with us. It's Speegs and Ryan McGuffey here on the Spiegel Holmes Show. After you and Theo et al. Made one of the great trades in Chicago's sports history, Scott Feldman and Steve Clevenger for Pedro Strop and Jake Arrieta, we did a show, I don't know if you remember, you and Theo at Del Frisco's, this steakhouse on Oak Street. And you guys had made the trade, and we were talking during a break. I was talking to Theo, and I was trying to oh, look, I know my stuff. So, I'm trying to impress Theo as people do. And I said to Theo, hey, how about Kevin Gossman? You guys, do you guys want Kevin Gossman? And he shot me a look shut up. That's what it felt like. The glint in his eye was I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to talk about that. You guys were into Kevin Gossman then. This is 2015 we're talking about, and here he is. What is it about that guy you've always wanted?
It was funny, actually. We screwed that up so badly. So I was joking with Kevin when I saw him. He was I guess his wife said to him, oh, finally the Cubs traded for you. It was inevitable. And we tried to trade for him so many times when he was with Baltimore. He was our white whale, clearly undervalued talent. What they weren't getting the most out of him. We went after him over and over and over. And then he kind of bounced around a little bit, Cincinnati, Atlanta. And when he was a free agent, I think it was before 2020, he signed with the Giants. We didn't sign him, in part because he struggled a little bit. And we're okay, maybe we weren't right after all. And then he goes to the Giants.
Figures it out.
And figures it out. We're oh, my God, we were right all along. And we just weren't stubborn enough to it. But, yeah, we tried to trade for him so many times. Well, it's funny, listen, these jobs, there's obviously skill, and there's also some luck involved, right? When I think back on the Orioles, going back to the Arrieta deal, it's they had a bunch of different guys. Brian Mattis, they had Gausman,
Dylan Bundy,
Chris Tillman was on that team.
Yeah,
they had someone else I'm blanking on. They had a bunch of guys that young pitchers. And Jake was the one they were willing to talk about. And we like Jake, but they put these other guys off limits right away, and we got the Cy Young winner, right? So it was that worked out great for us. But who knows? In an alternate universe, they make Jake unavailable, and we trade for Chris Tillman, right? It's just that is the.
And how important was the stroke part of that deal?
Yeah, I've so I was talking to Dan Duquette on that deal so many times. And we kind of had the Arrieta part, and I was determined to get Strop in the deal. And I look back at how dumb that was because I found out after the fact there was a couple other teams that were going after Jake, and I thought I was kind of alone in this market. It was early, and they, Buck Showalter really wanted Feldman because he had him in Texas, and I was okay, we're gonna get this across the finish line. I look back, I could have really screwed that up by insisting on Strop, and obviously it worked out well. But
yeah,
I probably was overly stubborn on doing that. It could have been to our detriment. Theo would have reminded me of that if I
a few times.
Yeah.
Just a thing on Gossman, when he did figure it out, it seemed like it was all splitter and fastball tunneling together, and he's still kind of that guy,
yeah.
and it's powerful. But the other day in his second start, it seemed like they stopped biting on the splitter, and the fastball maybe wasn't enough. And then I'm thinking, is the slider coming? Is he still the same kind of guy that you're trying to figure out?
Yeah, a big part of what happened when he finally went to the Giants was just Scott Harris, who was here, was there, and it was just throw your split over and over and over. It's such a devastating pitch.
Yeah.
And I don't think he relied on it enough before he went to San Francisco, and I think that's what really has made him good, is just the willingness to throw this really good pitch over and over. And yeah, the first start obviously was excellent. His first 3 innings were incredible. And then, yeah, they did a great job. And they're a really good offensive team. I mean, even without James Wood, even without Curtis Mead, they traded Garcia as well. They're still scoring a ton of runs. And so, kind of chalk it up to, they figured him out a little bit. He made some not good pitches in the wrong time. But I think you're right. I think he has to throw that over and over. That's who he is.
Obviously, you have a lot of friendships in the game, but you have a true friendship with Chris, and the families are tight. And when you have two teams in town that are good, and you've been here when both teams have been okay, or maybe one's up and one's down. This is the first time this late in the year ever, by the way, since 2008, that we have had these two teams both in playoff position. So, that's it. So before you even got here. But how happy, now that we're post-deadline, obviously you want to win the 3-game series, but now you can actually you can kind of root while getting what needs to be done here at 1060 West Addison.
No, I mean, I've said this after the deadline. I mean, obviously, Chris and I are good friends, and, it's been a fight. We were friends before he got the job, and obviously he's gotten this job, and we talk all the time, and our kids are friends, and I'm just happy for him as a friend. I mean, I think that I think probably the thing in this game that I think brings respect from me the most is doing hard things and making hard decisions, and he had to lean into a lot of really unpopular decisions. And he traded guys away, endured a lot of losses. It's never easy to do, and I think he did that. And he took the arrows that come with doing that, and I think this is his reward. They have a really good young team. They should be good for a long time. It's an exciting time to be a White Sox fan, I think, because he was willing to lean into those difficult things. So, yes, obviously, we want to win these games. But in general, as a friend and as a person, I'm happy for him because I think, like I said, he had to lean into difficult things, and I think he did a great job of them.
I'm trying to picture Jim Hendry and Kenny Williams hanging out. You know what I mean? And it's not really flashing.
I'm trying not to.
Have you?
Let me keep my sunglasses on to hide the shock.
It's funny because our kids go to school together, and so we'll walk the kids to school, and we'll be standing outside the school having a conversation on a random morning, and I think to myself, it's probably the first time that's happened.
I think so.
100%.
100%.
Yeah.
So you've talked baseball in his backyard?
Oh, yeah.
Has he talked baseball in your backyard?
No, he comes over. We have a little bootleg batting cage thing going on, and he brings his kid over all the time to hit at my house. Yeah.
So there you go.
But like I said, there's a lot of contact. Our wives are friends. And
amazing.
I mean, these games are small.
Yeah.
Like they are, and it's if we had two football teams in town, there's a pretty good chance Ryan Poles and whoever his counterpart is, they become friendly, and I think that, I know that there's always the bad blood with the White Sox, but the truth is, like I said, we were friends before he got that job, and we're not going to stop being friends because of that. And I think there's a lot of things there's competitive issues in these jobs that you're clearly we're trying to win, he's trying to win. There's also other parts of the job that you can help each other. Hey, I've got this media thing I'm dealing with. How should I handle it? Or this employee thing. So I mean, these jobs are big. They're not just only players.
Yeah. And
I think those are a lot of the conversations we end up having are not player specific. They're more the job.
Your friends in the game.
And I think that can help. Yeah.
Did he lean on you for when he had to wear it? Because you guys had to do the unpopular thing in 2012.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, I think that no question. I mean, we had those conversations, and it's a lonely feeling, and I think he knew that. But like I said, he didn't shy away from it. And I mean, in particular, Grote was one of the best pitchers in baseball. But I think you look at that trade now, and it's it's a great haul for them. And it's one trade like that, when you get that many different pieces, it can really change the trajectory, and I think that one has.
So Cubby Bear's been here since 1953. You were in here for the Joe Madden introductory presser, right?
Shot in a beer, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
I drank way too much Goldschlager in this institution in the 90s, way too many times.
Funny, at that press conference, I sat here for the Joe Madden press conference, and then today, and I said 0 words in that press conference, and a lot more today. So.
You were the potted plant.
A potted plant, always.
You were a damn impressive potted plant. Did you know that the Foo Fighters played right over there in this place? The number of bands that have played here is unbelievable. Dave Matthews in the 90s played here. Fish played here in 1991.
I was going to say, I'm embarrassed to admit this because it makes me sound really square and boring, but I think this is the second time I've been in here as a Cubs employee. Certainly pre-Cubs, come into Chicago, going to Cubs games, end up here. But I don't often come in here as a Cubs employee. I'm kind of missing out.
Yeah, well, next time a mustache. Or is that's Theo's bag though?
Hey, Ben Johnson was able to go to Sluggers a couple of weeks ago. Unassuming, no one pointed him out.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Did he take swings?
He didn't. He didn't go in depth about the visit, but he did say he probably won't do it again.
Jed, your thoughts on left tackle? thoughts on the Bears left tackle situation?
Hey, I'm excited for it.
It's going to be a good season.
It's going to be fun. Yeah, Ben's been here a couple of times, and getting to know him a little bit. I mean, couldn't be more impressive, and obviously a great talent. I've known Ryan. Ryan's excellent, and it should be a lot of fun. It's fun in this town when the sports teams are good. This is the best sports town in the country, and so I think when the teams are good, it's awesome, and it should be a really fun fall with the Bears.
Yeah, we're looking forward to you guys making us have to talk less Bears deep into September and October. Right?
I think they want that too. I don't think they don't want you guys breaking down their, like the backup cornerback in October. They want to.
I don't want to do it either.
Yeah,
I'll be honest with you.
exactly.
No, it's nice to not break down the first preseason game as much as we had to already.